Are there standards that are imposed upon you, and what are they?
Um, I think because am, my dad is black, my mom is black, that I'm supposed to um, embrace the black culture more. And I have more white friends and more. Um, I feel like I live in more like most of my neighbors are white and stuff, like neighborhood and stuff. That because I am black and my parents are black and stuff, I'm supposed to be like the black kids that live in the inner city or something like that. I feel like um, that's what people perceive me as. And then until they meet me, then you can see they're like slowly get rid of that, I guess.
What does acting black mean, and what does acting white mean?
I think people think that acting black is using slang, the baggy clothes, um, the in like embracing their culture in their like everyday life. And I think acting white is just a little bit more conservative. Um, Clothes fit you more. You carry yourself just a little bit differently. Um, you're just more like I don't know. There's just a different like edge to you than there is if you were acting black. All throughout growing up, I was told that I was acting white because of the environment that I had been raised in. My dad's family, most of them live in the inner city, and we were like fortunate to live more in like a suburb area. Because I went to the more um, white schools or stuff like that, I was like everyone saw me as like I was always acting white when really my dad was just telling me that like no, you're speaking proper English and like you're carrying yourself at a much higher level than they are, and it's just the way that my dad it's the way my dad is, and that's just the way that we were like brought up. But um, people in high school like would pick on me about it, like the way I talked. They would mock me the way I talked, and the clothes I wore was like a big thing because I wasn't wearing like Jay-Z's line or Beyonce's line, that I wasn't considered like acceptable in the black like community.
What if you went to like a high society? I'm not really sure. Like rich place.
Yeah.
Started acting black. What do you think?
Um, I think I like the same thing. I don't think I'd be accepted,
Mhm.
and I don't think anyone would talk to me. I think like in the black community or like if I went to the ghetto, there might be a few people that might come up to approach me to make fun of me, but I think if I were in the richer community, they would just talk me on the back and no one would even come close to approaching me.
Yeah.
So I think that's just ignorance, like people not knowing people.
If you're doing a good job at a company you work at, do you think that the way you dress or the slang you use will affect your promotion?
Yes, because I mean, you need to be able to communicate with the people below you and people that are above you. So I wouldn't promote anybody that I couldn't understand. I
Mhm.
mean, communication is key when you're working in a place like that. So, yeah.
Okay. How would you act if you were applying for a job? Would you act black or act white?
I would act like myself, which is probably more acting white because one, I am white, but also, I don't know, based on stereotypes, that's how others would tend to classify me. But I think if you have the job qualifications and you're prepared and you go in and you look appropriate for the job, it should not matter how you inherently act or what color you are. It should be based on, are you qualified for the position.
Um, what does acting black mean? And what does acting white mean?
I feel like, kind of like I said before, like acting black is like ghetto and acting white is, again, these are stereotypes, but higher society kind of a thing. But like black people are gonna listen to more rap, whereas white people might listen to more country, or black people might dress with or wear saggier pants than white people, you know. But at the same time, there's other people who cross boundary lines. For instance, Eminem being a white rapper, Darius Rucker being a black country singer, and you know, dressing. You know, it's also how you're grown up, where you live, all that sort of thing. So.
Hypothetically, if you went down to the ghetto and started acting white, would you be called stuck up? And what would you be called?
I think if I went to the ghetto and tried to, what you say, act black, yeah, I would be considered stuck up, especially because that's not something that I'm just not a, like, ghetto person, and white people can pull it off, and black people can, you know, I don't think it's necessarily race, but for me personally, I'm not a ghetto person, and I think if I tried to do it, one, I would look really foolish, and people would laugh at me, or they would take it the other way and get angry and be like, why are you making fun of me? You're a white girl trying to be ghetto. And I think it'd be the same thing for a black person in a white community if they tried to act. I think it's just acting something you're not in general. You're going to tend to appear like you're acting in a different, you know, like you're going to appear stuck up, or you're going to appear ignorant or naive about the situation. And I don't think it's necessarily just a racial issue, but how you are person.
Around?
I think it depends on the person. I know people do act differently around different groups of people, and then there's the question of, like, actors and actresses, and they can do it, but I think for the most part, you are who you are, and although you may try to act like you're like somebody else, eventually that's going to catch up to you, and you're not going to be able to fake or fool everybody anymore. So I think most people just tend to act how they are, but they'll try to act a different way around different groups of people, but I don't think it works. Like, a mixed person, are they more white or are they more black? And how do they classify that? And I think it's just really what you want to be classified with, or who you're around. Especially for somebody who's mixed, you can get away with that because you do look like, but you know, like, I could not look black. People know I'm not, so.
If somebody was going for a job interview, do you think they should alter how they speak and dress? Should how you look and how you speak matter into getting that job? And should they purposely change the way they act for the interview?
I think you should, I mean, everybody prepares for interviews, but I think you should act like yourself for the job. Like, don't come in wearing jeans and a t-shirt if it's a night, you know, dress appropriately for the position, speak appropriately for the position, but don't change who you are. So if you use certain words, use those words, but use them in a job setting. Don't change who you are for the job, but understand that there are certain qualifications you need for the job, and they're going to look at your appearance, and they're going to look at how you speak, but they should only be looking at it in regards to the job, not to your racial identity. You have to know the guidelines for the job, and it's not necessarily changing who you are, but knowing that you shouldn't be swearing at work, you know. So I don't think, if it's rooted on racial identity, then that's not okay, and I don't think you should have to change things you've grown up with from your race. But you should also understand, like I said, what the job entails, and know that you have to look a certain way. Not color-wise, but clothing and how you present yourself to your colleagues. Because if everybody else is dignified and you look like a bum, it's not going to go over well. So I thought of something. Okay, I used to play soccer, and we had a private training session. There was like 4 of us, and the coach was black, and all of us there were white. And he asked if I had any brothers, and I thought he was talking about, like, siblings, like a brother. And so I was like, well, I have 2 step-siblings, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, like, brothers, like, black friends. And I was like, oh. So I don't know if that's, like, being made fun of, but that's an example where I had no idea what was going on, and I was just like, wait, what?